Was there a last-minute WWE creative change on Raw? The Vince McMahon Netflix documentary may be permanently shelved, and my review of Monday Night Raw. I'm Luke Owen, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Before we get into that full review of Raw, though, let's talk about the finisher of Raw. Jey Uso unsuccessfully challenged Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship due to interference and distractions from Jimmy Uso, presumably setting up their WrestleMania program, which is just one of the many things I got right on our 3-count Elimination Chamber predictions episode.
Funny backstage skit.
Costs Jey match.
Oh, what, in the chamber?
No, what, on Raw? Because he's,
you've got him in there.
Yeah. So it's like out Raw, facing Gunther. Jimmy cost him the match. That's what sets up their Mania match.
That's right. You can all tell me how smart I am in the comments down below. Just don't look at all the things I got wrong, just the bits that I got right. But as it turns out, there's a chance I could have also been wrong about that, as according to WrestleVotes on Twitter, sources state there were multiple people within the company under the impression Jey Uso was winning the IC title tonight on Raw. I'm told that as of later 6 p.m, this was the direction on various show rundowns within the creative and digital departments. Considering that Raw airs at 8 p.m. Eastern, if this report is correct, then just 2 hours before the show went on the air, Jey Uso was scheduled to dethrone Gunther for the belt, which would have added a lot more spice to the reported Mania match of Jimmy versus Jey, but would also seemingly go against the long-term plan for Gunther and his record-breaking reign, which makes me think this story was put out by design. And I also think as we approach Mania season, there will be more stories like this. Purposeful misinformation put out by WWE sources to not only discredit wrestling media, but also spread seeds of doubt about matches, finishes, and creative plans. Perhaps that's why that Jade Cargill story was put out last week, to throw fans off the scent for the Raquel Rodriguez return. What do you think of my theory, or do you think that there was serious consideration for Jey to win the belt? Let me know in the comments down below, while you're also telling me how smart I am. But now, unfortunately, we must transition into the more serious news surrounding Vince McMahon, and as always, these stories come with trigger warnings for sexual assault and abuse. Since Janelle Grant's lawsuit was filed against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE, a much harsher spotlight has been thrown onto the company, with more victims coming forward with their stories and allegations, and more details being uncovered surrounding Ashley Mazzaro during her time in WWE. All of this extra scrutiny on the company has led to Chicago-based law firm Pintus and Mullins launching the website WWEsettlements.com. According to the site, anyone who was sexually assaulted, made to feel uncomfortable, or witnessed sexual abuse by Vince McMahon or anyone from WWE or UFC could be entitled to significant compensation. The pressure seems to be mounting against WWE, so we can only wait and see where this takes us in the future. In other Vince McMahon related news, before the Janelle Grant lawsuit was filed, there was the imminent release of a Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix. This was completely separate to WWE's new deal to broadcast Monday Night Raw on the platform, as this documentary had been in the works for a long time before the deal was finalized. But now the status of that documentary is in question, as Dave Meltzer speculated on Wrestling Observer Radio that it may never see the light of day and might just be quietly and permanently shelved. It reportedly was finished and close to release prior to Grant's lawsuit. This seems to be the latest chapter in the fall of Vince McMahon, and Ollie did a video this past weekend looking at the fall of the entire McMahon family. Here's a clip.
Years before properly getting into the wrestling business, Vince had married his childhood sweetheart, Linda McMahon, in 1966, where they had financially turbulent beginnings, filing for bankruptcy in 1976, mostly because of 5 years of unpaid taxes and $1 million worth of debt Vince had from promoting Evel Knievel botching trying to jump Snake River Canyon.
3, 2, 1.
Yep, there goes Evil there, flying up and immediately firing the parachute, plummeting back down to Earth, barely having cleared the side of the canyon he was jumping from.
But now it's time for my review of Monday Night Raw, aka hot damn hot crowd edition of Monday Night Raw. in about 5 minutes. And this hot crowd were treated to a hot opener as Cody Rhodes took on Drew McIntyre in a fantastic match with proper pay-per-view quality feel. It even got a video promo to hype it up. Both men worked their asses off and the crowd responded in kind. And it looked like Cody had the match won with the crossroads, but there was a distraction from Jey Uso and a spike from Solo Sikoa to allow Drew McIntyre to hit the Claymore for the win. Now, normally, I'd have an issue with pinning someone ahead of a big world title match, particularly when you are someone who has been protected so much like Cody Rhodes. This is his first pinfall loss since Roman at Mania last year. But that's also the point, because this finish was great for 3 very, very good reasons. A, it builds the Bloodline feud and adds some heat to Cody's Mania 40 match with Reigns, but more crucially, B, it's the same finish as their Mania 39 match. Cody had the match won with a crossroads, but Solo gave him the spike and his opponent hit their finish for the win. It showed that no matter how much Cody has worked to get back to the main event of WrestleMania, no matter how much he hasn't been pinned since Mania 39, it doesn't matter because the Bloodline are still here and will do whatever they can to make sure he doesn't finish his story. Seth Rollins was right. Cody needs a better plan than the one he currently doesn't have. But perhaps best of all, 3, what has been the motivation for Drew's heel turn? Because Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline cost him the world title at Clash at the Castle. He brings this up a lot. It's his whole deal. But what happened when Solo and the Bloodline interfered in his match? He took advantage of it. He's a hypocrite, but one who feels that he's justified in his actions. It's a great bit of character growth for Mr. McIntyre. So yeah, I'm not a fan of big-time challenges for big-time titles losing just before big-time shows. I wouldn't have pinned Drew either, for the record, but if you are going to do it, make sure you have 3 very, very good reasons to do it. This was fantastic. Andrade renamed himself to Andrade El Idolo in a series of promo videos that aired after our opener, as we also got video promos for Jey vs. Gunther, The Chamber itself, and Truth in Judgment Day, as well as replays of the finish of Drew and Cody with Pat McAfee drawing over the screen. Raw's pacing has gotten so much better as of late since the production changes, and in all of this, Rollins approached Cody and gave him a little nod. The Last Chance Battle Royal was, in fact, not won by Jade Cargill, who wasn't in the match at all, and was instead won by a returning Raquel Rodriguez. Yes, everyone, she is back, and she has won. This was a totally fine battle royal, which served its purpose and gave us a fun Santino spot at the end, where it looked like Chelsea Green might get a surprise elimination on Raquel after everyone thought she'd already been eliminated. Personally, I'd have had Chelsea Green in the chamber, as I think there's a lot of fun to be had in that. But Raquel does make a lot of sense. I mean, she's not going to win the thing, but she is a star, and the show does need stars. Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley had a sit-down interview about their title match this weekend, and WWE celebrated people from Netflix who, I think, were all dressed the same. Some UFC lad challenged another UFC lad to a UFC thing. I don't know, guys. I was more excited for the bull riding fella. Jackie Redmond had a special interview with R-Truth about his time with Judgment Day, which had some decent comedy, but it was not enough to overcome the baddies who beat him, Miz, and DIY in an 8-man tag. Ciampa's hot tag was brilliant, but it was Priest printing Truth, which was... Hold on. R-Truth has been an active member of the WWE roster since 2000. Well, that is an interesting stat. If it were true, because it's only true if you ignore the 5 years he spent in TNA. He was their world champion for a bit of that. He didn't even make it a full year in WWE, first debuted in 2000 in November. You know this, and then you released him the following summer. How could you ignore TNA like this? How very dare you, WWE? How dare you disrespect the good name of the 3 Live crew? All that time he won the tag titles with Pac-Man Jones, who wasn't allowed to do any actual wrestling. Shame, shame, shame. I will be writing to my local MP about this. Anywho, Sami Zayn talked about his recent losses and wanting to find his path to Mania. He's got a rematch with Shinsuke Nakamura next week, who also cut a promo, and Becky Lynch came out for a promo to put over this weekend's Chamber. Look, yeah, we all know how this one goes. Liv came out, Raquel came back out. Naomi came out, Tiffany came out, and Bianca Belair came out so they could all stand in a row. This was stilted, formulaic, and counterproductive. Raw's production and creative is so much better than this. Do better than this. Nia came out and killed them all, which was a cool visual to end this segment as it adds a level of what if to her match with Rhea Ripley. Chad Gable beat Ivar to build some momentum, possibly putting him in line for that Gunther IC title Mania program, and New Day announced next week that they'll be facing Imperium in a street fight. And the main event saw Gunther beat Jey Uso after Jimmy caused a distraction by ringing the timekeeper's bell. It was a good finish as it puts over the fact that Jimmy cost Jey his world title match against Roman and now has cost him his IC match here. They had a very good match too, and Jey's final flurry of spears was really great. It capped off a tremendous episode of Monday Night Raw. The wrestling was really good, the promos, for the most part, were good, and it did a great job of building both Chamber and Mania. This week's show is 5 out of 5. Now go and check out that Fall of the McMahons video that we teased earlier.